24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And now, Barbados. And Digicel, Cayman's bigger, better network.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Guess what? Well, you're going to have to find out because we're going to start things off with our friends from the Cayman Arts Festival. 1 o'clock, we're going to share with you about men's health. Now, 1:30, well, I don't know. Should we say it? Yeah, we might. Join us. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email Talk Today at candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, welcome back and thanks for joining us. And why don't we start things off not just with some music, but add a little color to our lives. I want to thank Miss Susan. See the purple matches and compliments. Thank you very much for the purple, Miss Sydney. The color purple, royalty, change, invigoration. Well, Mr. Myers, good afternoon, and how are you?
Thank you so much for inviting us again here. We are ready for a piano festival. So we'll talk today about piano, about music, about joy.
Yeah.
I hope that will be. It's like my daughter. My daughter is waking up in the morning. We go out on the door. It's the only one who's doing the family. This like such a beautiful day.
Joy.
Look at the sun. Look. This is how she starts the day. So this is what we try to bring today with music.
And many of us at some age would say, "Oh, look at the sun! It is so hot." What if the sun wasn't hot? I mean, then it would be complaining, right? Be a bleak winter.
Depends how you want to watch this, but we hope that we bring some good news.
And it is, I think, through the eyes of our children in particular, until we somehow create in them this level of apathy. They see joy, they see fun, and there's something about music. Now, whether it's chamber music, whether it's the kitchen dance, there's something about music bringing people together, right? So, Marius, as we look at what not just the Cayman Arts Festival has done relative to the musical landscape, the teaching, instruction, and introduction to our students, but maybe what it could do as we position ourselves in the region, attracting not just people who come and perform, but people who come and watch performances that they probably otherwise might not be able to.
Yeah, that's a nice way, because as much as, I don't know, maybe Daumans will be able to tell us more on this. Just to let the listeners know, we have next to us a pianist from Latvia. I hope I will pronounce his name correctly, Daumans Lipiņš. And as an artist, he will be able to tell us how he feels when he performs in front of 10 people, in front of 100 people, in front of 1,000 people. He had this opportunity. And us as audience, we will understand how it is from an artist perspective, because from a promoter, from an organizer perspective, I want to see as many persons there. I want to sell the tickets. But how it is from an artist perspective, this how it is when you sit there, pay your ticket, and I explained what that means at one point. What that means when you pay a ticket for Cayman Arts Festival and come to our events. What that means for us, and I don't know, maybe somebody will tell us what that means for them when they do that.
Exactly. And sort of the artist, well, welcome. Thanks very much, man. It's a pleasure to
Thanks for having me here.
He's jet-lagged.
A little bit jet-lagged. Yeah, still.
I asked it earlier. No, I'm okay. That's between. No, but that shows dedication to your craft, respect for your audience. And for many, we will sit in the audience, comfortable chairs, and we'll be regaled that, how you just make it come alive. But there's a lot performing. You have to prepare. You have to be energized. It's not just sitting down and go na. It takes a lot, mentally and physically.
Well, of course, behind everything there is an idea, and if there isn't a good idea, then the idea works. And I think music generally is a lot about energy, about exchanging energy, about giving energy and then receiving back. And the more you give, the more you receive back. And the best concerts are those when you feel that you give and then you get a response, and then you get very careful listening ears, and the better the connection is between the artist and the audience, the more actually the whole event becomes energized, and everybody in the end go home and they say, well, we experienced something.
To Marius's point, 10 people, 100 people, 1,000, 10,000, a stadium of 100,000. Do you think?
Well, ultimately, if there is one or two, it's already enough. But of course, the more people there are, the more you have opportunity actually to deliver your message, what you want to say with your music. Well, I've played in front of an audience with more than 1,000 people, and this feels, of course, there are more people involved in the organization around everything, but ultimately this is still the same experience, the experience of sharing, the experience of giving. And then in that moment when you are on stage, it actually does not matter that much how many people are there listening.
In the absence or excluding an original composition, if you're performing some of the piece, you bring your own energy. Is it your own interpretation, or you want it to be presented as the original master intended?
Classical music very much is about the interpretation, because we perform pieces that were written, let's say, 200 years ago.
When Marius was a little boy.
Yeah. Yes. And classical music is very much about the universal values, I would say, about those values that survive during the centuries and that are actual in every time we live in. And this is actually what makes the music survive. And we perform the pieces that were written 200 years ago, yes, but we find some actual themes in those pieces that are actual today. I like to talk also quite much during my concerts. I like to explain what I see in those pieces, how I see the actuality today, and this is the way how I love to connect with the audience as well. Bringing classical music together to the people. It does not matter whether you have listened to a lot of classical music or not. The most important is just be there and be present.
The discussion, the explanation as you engage your audience, do you think that makes you different from the other performers? They come, they present their piece, it's wonderfully gifted, but you're attempting explaining, involving, and trying to engage the audience from not just hearing it, but actually maybe understanding it in a different light as you have.
Well, every audience is different. Every person is different, and every experience is different. So I just came here. I have no idea what to expect. The only thing that I did already was I went to the beach. I got a little bit of the feeling what the Cayman Islands are like. But we have in front of us, we have master classes and we have concerts. So this will be a unique experience. And then, of course, you adapt to the situation where you are in.
Yes, with that, I mean, sometimes we have, either as parents or even as people who look at a particular region and come away with perceptions. Oh, that place would be good for this, but not necessarily a great attraction for that. Cayman is unique. I mean, almost anything of value will be embraced, supported, nurtured.
Yes, you are talking about from a location perspective right now.
Right.
This year, we have chosen to have the festival at the Old Public Library in Georgetown. We have our grand piano there, and I don't know, from my point of view, which other buildings could be better at this moment. And we have in mind to explore. We'll be here, and I'll come with more details. We plan to have events in historical areas of Cayman Islands. Even if we can bring just the community around, or the tourists that they might want to see, that one will try to go to that direction. And I think that it's an amazing approach to combine the arts with the local buildings, and to bring not just old music, like he said, that he was polishing and will look new, with the history here. And that somehow will bring more, I don't know, I can say that, pride to us as people that we live here. That look, our buildings, our locations, they can be transformed by music and by people that they come to see it.
Yeah, I think of the sort of the partnership with the National Trust way back when in the Savannah Schoolhouse.
Oh yeah, that was really nice.
Yeah, and to see an old building, electricity was a bit of a challenge, no air conditioning.
No, it was not electricity. Don't worry, we brought that.
No. You brought it all, but here's an old building that you use in similar way as you're trying to show that there is nothing like the public library, and there is something spectacular about that. That's probably one of the most remarkable buildings globally, not just as architecture, but the feel, the sense, the meaning.
I'm curious if now is for the listeners, if you haven't been there in a while, come just to take a look, not necessarily for the concert if you don't have time, but when you pass by, go inside to see that it's a stage now there. It's very neat, the stuff that is there. They do an amazing job. They're one of our sponsors, let's say. It's an in-kind sponsor. They allow us to have the events there. They're really hard-working persons there, and they keep that one very nice, and we are able to have events there, and we thank them for that.
Remarkable building, man. Just as you said, just to appreciate. So when you come back from a break, though, let's talk more about the concert and performing. It's something to have in our minds, this notion of the musician, whether it's a guitar, a saxophone, even a cello, a violin. It's much easier to sort of strap that on and walk about the train station or sit somewhere in the park. A piano takes one or two people to move it around. Not as easy.
But on the other hand, on the piano, actually, you can play almost everything because you can use both your hands and you can play several voices simultaneously. Let's say you can press the keys. You can use all your 10 fingers and you can press simultaneously at least 10 tones in the same time. So, or more than 10. You can press 2 keys with one finger, for example. So it gives the possibility for a piano to express more. And there are a lot of how we call transcriptions written for piano for pieces that were originally written for the same guitar or cello or violin or whatever instrument. And piano is actually the one that is able to play solo, to accompany also all the other instruments, and to also bring music that was originally not written for piano. So I would say in this sense, piano is more universal.
Very versatile, yeah. And that is the beautiful part about it. So when you come back, let's explore that. And then people can get a sense, as they listen, you said, to be that keen, attentive ear, they might actually hear and feel something that they didn't expect. All right, join us right after the break.
It's game time, Subway fans. We're upping our sub game with the all-new Subway Series menu, an all-star lineup of 6 delicious recipes. Just order by name or number and we'll do the rest. Whether you're catching a quick lunch or just need a tasty victory, the Subway Series menu is coming in clutch. Subway Series, easy to order, hard to resist. Try it today, only at Subway. Eat fresh.
Remembrance Day, November 11th, will be here soon. That's when we remember and give thanks for those Caymanians and others who have fought, defended, and preserved the democracy we have enjoyed in the Cayman Islands. The Cayman Islands Veterans Association Gala is merely days away on October the 14th at the Marriott. The Poppy Appeal will be initiated on October 14th. Be sure and get your reservations for the gala from the Cayman Islands Veterans Association, or you can call Andrew at 916-5317, Paul at 916-0701, or Loxley at 916-7755.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I go in flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old girl.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Tune in Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. for the Daily Sports Report, covering local, regional, and international sports. Proudly brought to you by Dr. Wayne Porter, offering a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. Call 946-9020 to book your appointment today.
Introducing Digicell's all-new prepaid plans. Packed with more any-use data than ever before. Entertainment data for the apps you love, like Netflix, Spotify, YouTube, and TikTok. Plus, endless social data for Snapchat, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So you're always in the know. Stay connected. Stay entertained with Digicell's new prepaid plans. Activate in the My Digicel app today. Digicel, better connected.
Water Authority Cayman would like to inform its valued customers that the public water service will be temporarily interrupted along Shamrock Road and all roads off Shamrock Road between Lancelot Drive and Wilty Road on Sunday, 8th October between 8:30 a.m. and 2 p.m. These planned works are to facilitate pipeline improvement works in the area. The authority apologizes for any inconvenience this interruption in service may cause and thanks the public for their patience and understanding. The authority will make every effort to complete these works and restore the water supply ahead of schedule.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, welcome back. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to Marius and all the volunteers, sponsors, and supporters, and of course the students and performers at the Cayman Arts Festival. So you have something on the offer for us? What is it, tonight, tomorrow night, next night?
It's on Thursday. The first event is on Thursday. You take me fast on. This is the second edition of Cayman Piano Festival. We try to bring a new product on island, focusing on an instrument. It happened to be piano. I don't know if it's not necessarily a coincidence, because we have both the founders of Cayman Arts Festival. They are concert pianists. And I don't know if I told a story last year. If I said I'll bring it back. After COVID, we had a large amount of performances that we had to postpone, reschedule. And among this, we had a large amount of pianists that we wanted to bring here Daumans, for example, he's supposed to be here in April 2020. So he was the first victim. When we cancel events and reschedule, he was the first one. And we were so happy that time because that year, the Pianist magazine had him on the cover as a lookout for 2020, the pianist to look out for 2020. And he was there. It's like, oh man, this is a big fish to catch, like in the right amount of time. And sorry, having all this line of pianists, I told Glenn, you know what, we will never finish them because we promised you will come. Let's put together a piano festival and we bring more in a short amount of time. And we expose, it's really nice to have, we have that piano in the library, we have our grand piano now, let's use it more. And this is how we started. And it's a unique product because we want to bring them here. We prepare in advance some of our students, let's say the advanced ones, and the overseas performers, they come and have master classes with these top performers. This is one, the local performers. This is one side of the festival. Another one, they are the concerts itself, and also where you feel more comfortable to have a recital, Sterling, at home, in your living room, let's say, for students where in their classroom. So we introduce this aspect on the festival, having recitals in their classrooms where they have pianos. We don't need to bring anything, we just tune their piano and they have their own. We have a John Gray, we had at Clifton Hunter, Georgetown Primary School, West Bay Primary School, First Baptist, name it. And you have to see how they come around pianos, the kids, and they love it. And that was the way how we build up this festival, coming closer to the students. All the time in our mind, they are students. We upset or not upset others, this is our focus. We try to bring inspiration and education and anything you want for them. Of course, we have the concerts for the main public, but God forbidden, nobody's coming on Thursday to his event, but we will have two schools that we go, and I have there 150, 200 kids exposed to Daumann's work this week. For me, that's an amazing success. Will not happen that people will come at his concert for sure, but that's how we build up this festival.
The appreciation for music, but also then the introduction. With that, the classical trained musician, as Marius was referencing earlier, there are many who have the view that at age 2 months, 3 months, 5 years old, you're already training, practicing, and knowing your craft. But we saw with budding cellist, he was 10 years later he took out the cello as opposed to what would have been tradition. So with that in mind, is it then that we are able to introduce students to an instrument, whether it's the piano, the cello, or some other piece, later on than has been traditional accepted, or is it the sooner the better?
In this sense, playing music instruments is something similar to doing sports. Everybody can do sports, and it's healthy, and the same thing is also applies to the music. The earlier you begin, the better, because then all the skills sit in your fingers and in your body, so that you are able actually to express yourself more naturally. That's why the widely accepted age, the perfect age, would be maybe age of 5. But there are so many people who actually start playing later, and there are also people who started playing in their teenage years, and they have become famous professional musicians. But I would say that this is more exception than the rule generally. But music as sports is extremely healthy for development of mind, emotions, awareness. And I would suggest for everybody to do this, even if it's as a hobby.
If I may ask you then, because sometimes I think, especially as parents, but even a wider community, we try to figure out, is it that the young child has a propensity and an affinity for this instrument, this sport, or is it then that we as the community, the parents, the extended family, the schools, or we, I didn't want to say nurture as much sometimes as to forcibly encourage at times?
Well, I do not have kids, so I remember how my parents did. So basically, yeah, when you're 5 years old, not always you know exactly what you want. You just want to run around and play football, for example, which is all good and healthy. For example, in my family, the playing music instruments was a tradition, I would say. This was something that was perfectly natural for my parents, and they sent me and my sister. They sent us to the music school, so we began playing our instruments at the age of 5 and 6, and this was part of the family culture, I would say. And of course, there were some moments when I did not want to sit at the piano and I did not want to spend the time, but still, I would say the amount of time required for practice was not big when I look back then. And I had the same happy childhood as every kid has. So basically, what I needed to do, I needed to prepare for lessons. I would say maybe I practiced half an hour a day, something like that. But then, of course, when you go further and you become a professional musician, this becomes your profession, and then this is something that you do for the most part of the day.
Like anything, Iris, you commit to it, and they're like, is it then that for you, was it always the piano? Did you have in your mind maybe an interest in another instrument?
Well, of course, there are many interests, but somehow it turned out that music was the means how I can bring something more to the society. So my goal has always been to. I've always wanted to inspire. I always wanted to bring some meaning, and I find music to be the perfect means to do that. Of course, there are many other interests that I have had over time. I'm interested in following the economic trends. I'm interested in following the political trends. I'm interested in society and in psychology and philosophy and all these things. But this is all part of life, and the more fields that you're interested in, the better, the wider your scope is. And for being a great musician, not only the skill is required, but also a certain awareness of what is needed for the society, because we are music is something that you really cannot catch. You cannot catch. Okay, here is the music. You just play a note, and then that's it. I mean, you cannot catch it, and even not as a work of art in pictures, for example. This you can see. But music, this is something that needs to be experienced in a moment, and the meaning of music is never direct. It's always something that can be translated in many ways. So and that's why for me the music is something that gives you the opportunity to express some things that sometimes you cannot express in words, because not everything in life you can express with words. And that's why there is music, and there are relationships, and there are many things that you cannot tell. That's why for me music is the way.
Indeed. All right, well, when we come back from our quick break, tell us more about the event and how we get tickets, and maybe share with us some of the other things that you have coming up over the next couple of days. All right, please join us right after the break.
Attention Cayman Brac residents, your voices have been heard. We are thrilled to announce that Cayman National will be installing a new ATM in the Kirkconnell store in Stake Bay on September 1st. At Cayman National, our priority is to make banking easy and convenient.
Get ready for more with Digicell's all-new prepaid plans. More any-use data to browse. Entertainment data for Netflix, Spotify, YouTube, and TikTok. Plus, stay connected with endless social data for Snapchat, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. With Digicell's new prepaid plans, you'll never miss a beat. Activate in the My Digicel app today. Digicel. Better connected.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
All aboard the Pizza Boat! Cayman's newest pizzeria. Birthday parties, office luncheons, summer camps, game night. Whatever your occasion, bring the fun with Pizza Boat. And Cayman Twist to pizza. Bringing fusion ingredients from all over the globe to give you locally inspired fresh pizzas all day, every day. What's more, now you can enjoy a boat-shaped pizza with toppings of your choice. It's Pizza Boat. Pizza Boat, now open in Queens Court on West Bay Road. Pick up or delivery 949-0000 or order online www.pizzaboat.ky. Pizza Boat. Experience the ultimate pizza voyage.
It's game time, Subway fans. We're upping our sub game with the all-new Subway Series menu. An all-star lineup of 6 delicious recipes. Just order by name or number and we'll do the rest. Whether you're catching a quick lunch or just need a tasty victory, the Subway Series menu is coming in clutch. Subway Series. Easy to order, hard to resist. Try it today. Only at Subway. Eat fresh.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. In a few minutes more to maybe send an invitation. Marius would personally deliver it, right? For this Thursday evening, the library?
Yes. We'll have, as I mentioned, 3 concerts. The first one is on this Thursday, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Georgetown Public Library. We have the performer here, Daumans. Maybe he will mention at one point the program. I will let that one on him. Next week, we have, again on Thursday, it will be 12th. Same time, 6 to 7, same location. And it's interesting because last year we had performers from Turkey, Romania, United States. This year we have from Latvia. Next week we will have on Thursday she's originally from China. And then on Saturday, it's on 14th. Mm-hmm. Again, 6 to 7 p.m., same location, Georgetown Public Library. We have a gentleman, he was born in Jamaica, Mr. Paul Shaw. He's living now in the United States. He is a professor, piano professor there, and he will have his finale, let's say. His last concert will be on Saturday. So tickets you can find on CaymanArtsFestival.com. For adults, they are 35 CIs. For students, 15 CI. And we still have some.
Now, Marius was sort of inviting you to share for Thursday then for the audience some of the pieces you're going to be performing. I mean, as much as you want to tell us about the event.
I like to build programs that are based on expressing either some universal values, as I said, or some emotional states. This time the program will consist of Beethoven's Pathétique Sonata. So this is one of Beethoven's most well-known works, and he wrote it when he started to sense that there was something going on with his hearing. He lost his hearing in the end of his life, but that was already the beginning when he started to feel that, well, this might affect his life and his creative work in ways that might alter his way how he does it. Well, and that's a personal struggle. So this piece is basically about a personal struggle of someone who is incapable to change a destiny, I would say. This is something that you cannot do anything, you accept. Then there is the second piece, Maurice Ravel, a French composer who is a completely different world. His music is extremely light. His music is about good proportions, about nature, about the wind, about the sun, about the sea. Ravel Sonatine consists of 3 little pieces. And then, in the end, Franz Liszt, one of the great piano virtuosos at his time. His music is technically bright and challenging. And 2 pieces by him. One is about the good, and the other is about the evil. So, like a philosophical approach. The first one, marriage. This is about...
That's the good.
Yes.
Okay. Are you sure? I was just wondering.
This is the story about the story about Joseph and Mary. Well, this is about the Renaissance painting by Raphael, and looking at that painting, he wrote the piece. This is about everything that is good and about love and about light, and the second one is Mephisto Waltz. That is about evil, about trickstery, and about the dark. So these 2 sides in the end of the program. The goal is to lead the audience into the journey of emotions, so that afterwards there are things to think about and to remember it as something that hopefully they have never heard.
Something you shared earlier, and we recognize it more and more, perhaps either as the classical historian or otherwise. You talk about like an interest in philosophy and politics and economics. Many times I don't know that we appreciate how much of that is into the music, not just the original compositions, but the interpretation, the performance of it. You paint a picture, you speak to contemporary issues sometimes.
Well, there is no way. I mean, we are alive. we are living in our time, and we have things that are actual, and of course it's impossible to avoid it, otherwise we would not be present in our time. Right. And I think, you cannot avoid yourself. So you are, even as an interpreter, you add something to the music, inevitably, even though this is a piece that is written by someone else. And this happens not only with original music, but with interpretations as well.
If I might ask, and it's only inspired by what you were sharing, and certainly being respectful of our time, we probably would appreciate folk music. We would appreciate, in this part of the world, the Calypsonian making a commentary about something that's happened. We see some of the slave music and the like, and the way that they would have message in the music. To the uninitiated, I wonder to what extent they, just a normal theatre goer listening, would they pick up and appreciate that in this music composition of centuries past, that there very much could be a lot of messaging in that, speaking to things that it may have, as opposed to a beautiful piece that we enjoy centuries later?
Well, that's a matter of education, I guess. There are some clues that are in there, but in the same time, the performer also has a task to bring those forward. That's why, exactly, that's the reason why I like to talk before the pieces, and because this is an exciting world, and where you can find layers and layers and layers of meaning, and this is music that you can listen to many times, and then you will find new things every time.
Is it then, and my final question in relation, because this is where music at Himalayas has so much that it not only can transfix, but can transcend us. We were sitting there listening, and whether you're trained, whether you're just receptive, you can come away with, as you said, something to think about. Is it then that we look at the critique sometimes of a book? Someone picks it up, maybe they decide to have an assessment, critique. With the music and the performances, is it as much open to you performing and feeling and bringing your own sense and sensibilities to it, as much as is what was potentially, the intent of the original composer?
We are musicians are artists, and art always implies that there are more than there's more than one meaning and more than one interpretation. That's why we are not scientists. We are not mathematicians, and we. That's why art can never be translated in one way. Of course, there are ways how you can analyze music, and that's why very often the music critics, they can analyze it from a professional point of view. The skill always can be analyzed. The accuracy can be analyzed. But the message or the meaning, well, there are always many ways how to look at that.
Subjectivity. Huh?
Yes.
Well, I'm excited because I think, as you bring your critique and commentary, but certainly your gift in, maybe we'll get an appreciation of some pieces we've never heard before or never heard in the way that you would bring them to the audience. Mayasa, another promising evening on Thursday as well.
Yes, we hope that we'll have a really nice evening on Thursday. We have all the ingredients. We heard about them, and we just need to see them now and in place. And just want to thank to those that help us. As I mentioned, Cayman Islands Public Library Service, we have Century 21, and we have KPMG, we have Locale Hotel. It's a small group of entities that came on board to support us, and we thank them for that. And the public, we hope that they will come to see everything that we do. It's for them.
Well, it's not just broaden the horizons of our students, it's introduce them to things that they may not, get to see, certainly not as early as they have. So to you, the volunteers, to the master classes, thanks very much, man. Enjoy. Looking forward to having you in your regular seat next week.
Next week I'll be here again with other performers.
Thank you very much, Marius, and thank you too.
Thank
it was
you
a pleasure.
Much.
Enjoy.
My
Let Marius take you across to the beach again, but let him not leave you there. Then take you back home. All right, our listeners. After the news break, we got something to share with you, and then 1:30 in partnership with the HSA. We shall have an opportunity to speak, hopefully, with the CMO and others. It's about being informed and engaged, and if music is truly, the food of life, we should play on. All right, stay tuned for Talk Today.
9.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecast, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman 89.9 FM.
Follow Radio Cayman on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio Cayman.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The headline news is brought to you by Health Services Authority and the Ministry of Tourism and Transport.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. Water Authority Cayman announces that the public water service will be temporarily interrupted along Shamrock Road and all roads off Shamrock Road between Lancelot Drive and Wilty Road on Sunday, October 8th between 8:30 a.m. and 2 p.m. These planned works are to facilitate pipeline improvement works in the area. In international news, a plague of bedbugs has hit Paris and other French cities, provoking a wave of insectophobia and raising questions about health and safety during next year's Olympic Games. That's broadly how the phenomenon has been described in the French and now international news media. In part, it is true, but in another part, it isn't. What is the case is that the number of bedbug sightings has increased over the last weeks and that the upward trend goes back several years. India has asked Canada to withdraw about 40 diplomatic staff from India, reports say, in a sharp escalation of a weeks-long crisis. Those who stayed past October 10th would lose their diplomatic immunity, the Financial Times first reported. Last month, Canada said India may have been behind the killing of a Sikh separatist leader on Canadian soil, which India has denied. An Indian Foreign Ministry official told the BBC it had no comment to make. Canada has many more diplomats in Delhi than India has in Ottawa, and since this crisis erupted, India has asked Canada for parity in its diplomatic missions. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The headline news is brought to you by Health Services Authority and the Ministry of Tourism and Transport.
It's one of the best moments of your life when you welcome your baby into the world. The HSA's experienced women's health and maternity team provides the highest quality of care throughout your pregnancy and delivery. As a JCI accredited hospital, we are the leader in maternal care, safely delivering over 700 babies annually. Visit hsa.ky for more information. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
I'm Liani Tibbetts, Miss World Cayman Islands 2022, and I need your help to keep Cayman clean. When you're out and about, please dispose of your trash in the proper containers. Do not throw trash out of your car or leave it on our beaches. And if you see litter, take a moment to pick it up and dispose of it properly.
Be a part of the solution, not the pollution. Littering is a crime punishable by a $500 fine or 6 months in prison. Brought to you by the Beautification Task Force and Ministry of Tourism and Ports.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
William Foster was speculated to have been one of the early founders of Grand Cayman in 1741 and is a founder of the Caymanian Foster clan. However, it appears that the actual founder was an Englishman named Stephen Taylor Foster, born in Brighton, England in 1805. He was said to have been shipwrecked as a teenage cabin boy on one of the southern Cuban Keys around 1819 and brought by Caymanian wreckers to Grand Cayman. There he took up with a widow named Elizabeth Sarah Christian, with whom he had a daughter and 3 sons. Following his death, Elizabeth relocated her children to Cayman Brac to join the Scott and Rich families. Between the 4 foster children, they would bear 17 sons and 12 daughters with the other 2 families, and by 1875 would produce 150 grandchildren to the late Foster and widow Christian. Information from this historical vignette was sourced from Founded Upon the Seas, A History of the Cayman Islands and Their People by Mitchell Creighton and the New History Committee.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And if you look at the calendar and if you think it's only Tuesday, well, it's probably because it's only Tuesday, but it's in the month of October. And if you're not mindful, it'll be October 30, 40 in short order. The way time is going. But let's make hay while the sun shines. Let's give thanks and enjoy it and recognize that, when men assemble, we do great things. Hey, gents? All right. With the ladies in our lives, from our wives, our mothers, and our sisters, and our daughters, they mean a lot to us, and we're good to be able to draw alongside and show our support. So, Mr. President, how are you today, sir?
Fine, thank you, sir.
Life is good, huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, indeed.
I look at the Cayman context in many respects and recognize that as our fathers and uncles went to sea, our wives and their mothers and the like remain in that partnership, help not just to instruct and to nurture, but to continue to build a semblance of a society that looked after one another. 1,000 years later, we're still doing the same thing in a partnership that is 200 plus nationalities, focusing on whether it's health and education, but recognizing the importance of community, helping each other.
Yes, that is so true, sir.
All right, and with the greatest of deference to all of sort of the charities and the volunteers, I think the Lions Club of Tropical Islands, they represent.
Yes, sir. Yes, indeed. And I'm very privileged as the president, to, this month we are celebrating breast cancer awareness, which we educate, we inform the public, and matter of fact, all district in Cayman Islands, about the aware of this deadly disease which we have, in this world and in the community and in the environment, and how we can prevent it and, and stuff like that, sir.
If I might ask you, and certainly having a medical professional helps us, but sometimes certain issues, I look at the Lions Club of Grand Cayman with their PACE initiative, and we see some peculiarities being specific to, they told us, even to men or to women or to certain genders or certain ethnicities, but when a community can speak specifically to something in a very inclusive and encompassing way, it should make it not just more presentable, but perhaps for us, not just palatable, but something that we take on board because it is us and we're all affected by it. But from the physician perspective, anyone who comes through the door is someone that you owe a duty of care to ensure that their safety and well-being irrespective. So Dr. Robinson, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm wonderful, Sterling. Thanks for having us. So true. I think as physicians we recognize that a patient that is more aware, more knowledgeable, actually makes your job easier, right? And makes themselves have a better life, right? So it's not just the physician, it's not just the patient, it's the insurance provider who will benefit from the increased education in the public. And that's why the Breast Cancer Awareness Month is very crucial in that endeavor, especially as Lions Club. We recognize with our campaign, which with early detection saves lives, we want to go out and, as the President said, inform our public about the dangers of breast cancer and how we can actually enhance awareness and ensure that there is early screening and detection of the disease. So I'm for that as a physician, and most physicians in Cayman Islands recognize the importance of educating the average patient.
If I might know, as immediate past president, moral support is important, but you're here bringing your wisdom, your immense popularity amongst the populace so that you can encourage us. We see men supporting our mothers and our grandmothers, we hold our daughters in our arms at times to offer up that care, that compassion, that sense of protection. But when we champion issues like breast cancer, for instance, to your mind, with the greatest respect, what do you think that does for our community? So that when we see that, what messaging do you think?
Well, what is important to note, Sterling, is that our club 30 years ago was started by women. All-women club. Yeah, so us here amongst the first settlement, there is Lion Clint, which you may know, he's the founding man. So Adam,
He's Adam.
Yes, there you go. So all of us are just doing our best to keep his footstep and keep the club strong. But the ladies are stalwarts in our club. We have a set of ladies that they work hard, they push, they go all the time. But this deadly disease of breast cancer affects all women, and obviously it's going to be something that's passionate to them. So over 25 years ago, one of those ladies, I don't know which of them, no, I'm sure probably a group, decided that they wanted to fight against breast cancer. And as time had passed and they started to accept men in the club, we just had to follow suit. We had to support them because that's what we do as men. And it has been my greatest joy to support the ladies in every single way, everything that they have done. So over those, I've only been a member going 6-7 years now, and it has been one of the greatest joys to support them and push towards all the initiatives that they do. So throughout the month of October, there's a series of activities. The doctor can tell you a lot more about those, be it from the clinics to the awareness meetings, all kinds of things. So, it's just pure joy and support, just to be able to support them and to give of our best, in whatever way, shape, or form they need.
I think that's what's important. We draw alongside and we offer up whatever it is that we have, so that collectively it's meaningful. Before we ask President for some of the Carlin events, but Doc, as immediate past President shared, the invitation is for the public to be a part of the events and to come away with not just knowledge but understanding that these discussions are easier had when you're together.
Yes, definitely. And I think Lion Philip mentioned that he's been a part of the club for the last 6 years. For me, officially, it's only been less than 6 months. But as an extended member of the Lions Club of Tropical Gardens, I've always supported the club during this time of the year with their breast cancer campaign. I think it's probably for the last 12 or so years in being a presenter at some of our events, whether it be Savannah or Bordentown. And more recently, under the Doctors Hospital umbrella, to have our physicians support the Georgetown breast cancer event last year. But just to speak to some of these activities, for the month of October, we initially have, or I wouldn't say initially, but we do have our clinic on Friday, which is in Northside. All right? And of course, it's an opportunity where Joy Marin, who, I'm quite sure you're very, very much aware of who she is, support our club in educating that community about breast cancer. Our first breast cancer awareness district meeting is next week, Monday, and we have Dr. Michelle Mondes here who will be championing that BCA event. She's oftentimes the presenter for that district. She is with the Oasis Medical Group, and she's oftentimes give her best to that community. So we are excited to have her again. That meeting is next week, Monday on I think it's 7 p.m. we start, yes? Yeah. And so I will go into the details around all these other activities, breast cancer awareness meetings. But we are happy to have Dr. Mondes here. We have a number of other physicians who will join suit as well. Number of other facilities. I first like to recognize Health City in particular because they've taken on a lot of responsibility this year to support Northside, Eastern BCA meetings, as well as the Georgetown BCA meeting, which will be held on the 26th at the Lions Center. So lots to be lots in store. The flyers are on our socials. We're educating the people about coming out and attending and being educated about early detection, just self-examination, just to ensure that we can address this disease. If I should go a bit further, and I know that Lion Philip mentioned about women being the initiators of this club. The unfortunate thing about breast cancer is that women are 100 times more likely to be affected by the disease. 1% of cases affect men. So clearly, women more than men recognize the need to ensure that we are educated as a community. And in that vein, that's why physicians are on board for this initiative.
And I think too, maybe if I may ask, and if we as the men, their spouses, their sons, are supportive, we physically in attendance, we have some semblance of the impact, the notion of early detection, the warning signs, even maybe your lifestyle choices, we could help them, and not have them ignore, sometimes themselves to look after the rest of the community.
Indeed, definitely. And then also, Sterling, other things happening in the month of October are fundraiser things, because obviously these things can't go on, these activities can't go on without money. So truly our biggest initiative throughout the month is to give mammogram vouchers or breast cancer related treatment things to women that are affected. So once you're over 40, have a history of breast cancer or anything like that, then you can talk to us. And it is at these awareness meetings that we distribute these mammogram vouchers. So it's just a mini questionnaire. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what your situation is. We don't try to judge you or evaluate you as a physician there. And then we distribute, because we get support from the community. The support from the community is immense. There's too much to mention right now, but some of the main people are JN Money, CNB, CUC. I have a whole long list here, and I don't want to start getting caught here, but there's a lot of people, lots from everywhere.
Thanks, you might forget one.
The barber shops, the hairdresser shops, all kinds of things. So all of those money we put towards raise purchasing these mammogram vouchers, which we give to the people who we give them free of cost. And they get to go to either HSA or who we are in partner with or Doctors Hospital or Shetty, the one up
Health City.
Yes. So those are the ones. The other things that we do for fundraising is our walk run, which is coming up on Sunday. It's one of the biggest fundraisers. We're encouraging the public to register. It's $25 for adults. We start at 6 a.m. at 7 Mile Beach, and you run from 7 Mile Beach up to KFC and turn back. You can walk, you can take the whole family, whatever. Our den is open. Our den is at 522 Shedden Road, right in the vicinity of Mango Tree. So you can go in there anytime. You'll find a member of our club there, and they will give you, it's all pinked out now. Pink everything, pink hat, pink glasses, pink name tag, pink cards, as you want. We couldn't see all of us in pink today on purpose. You have our vest, but we decided to pink out. Yes. So you can get all your pink paraphernalia there, and in addition to register for the walk run. The walk run event. We also have our big dress pink, which is happening the last Friday in October.
October 27th.
Yes. And we want to make sure that you get your pink shirt, Sterling. We didn't take it with us today, but we want to make sure that you and the whole array that came in and everyone in this vicinity
will be decked in pink.
Yes, will be decked in either a pink shirt or a pink polo. Either ways, So those are some of the other activities that are happening around to raise funds to support the cause.
May I echo those sentiments, because obviously we've been, this is an internationally recognized month, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and over the years, granted, we've been around for the last 25 years with this initiative. But I must say, I've been on Ireland for the last 15 years, and consistently among the hospitals which I've served and the health services, different health services on Ireland, there seems to be a solidarity with this endeavor. So I'm very thankful for the support, and it continues to grow. I just recently jumped off a call from St. Matthew's in having to recognize the month, and they're asking how can we support this initiative. So there's always a chance where you can contribute. It doesn't mean that we've started October and we are finished with the donations. Our breast cancer awareness campaign continues all the way into February, and over that period of time we'll give opportunities for the mammograms. So it doesn't mean that once October finishes you've lost that chance. Once we have mammograms available and you fit the checklist for screening, we're happy to provide that support to you.
And it comes to that notion of early detection, but as you were speaking, I'm thinking not only the mother and the grandmother, but that young daughter who, as we educate her about her health and well-being, it could be her teen years. She's getting informed, getting appropriate timely education and information in 30, 40 years as a mother her own at that point, has a knowledge, taking care of herself, and continuing so that early detection gives her quality of life.
Yes. In recent times, with the activities that I've been a part of and being on the road and on the ground, we've recognized that a lot of women under 40, as you mentioned, are popping up with the symptoms or having
the disease,
the disease or different stages of the breast cancer, and then some of them get their breasts taken off or all kinds of things. And I can't tell you the trauma that is involved surrounding breast cancer, because to compare it, for example, losing a breast for a woman, it must be something that's emotional and really hard and hurtful. I mean, you can't imagine, because the woman's breast is one of the things that makes a woman and that they project,
Yes, and I would I'm just following Ben, Lion Philip. I have reasoned with a lot of women in the past. I mean, I'm living testimony. My mom, breast cancer took my mom, right? And the myth women have, if they remove the breast, it's going to smell, or it's going to be embarrassing. The partner is not going to love them anymore. And you have to educate, have reconstruction of the breast after it has been removed and different type of treatments. I had a testimony by West Bay 2 years ago. A lady said she just passed to get some of the wings from the refreshment thing, not knowing that when she took that form and filled it out, she would have found out that she was stage 2.
Yeah.
So it's just like mere luck she came across. So this is why this is so important to bring awareness, because sometimes because of myth and fear, or if they remove it, they're going to die faster. Yeah. So that's why I'm very passionate, because I've been, my family, my mother has been affected by this. And that's why I'm so, as the president, so, passionate to help other females out there which are ignorant to certain things.
It's accessibility to I think, Doc, because sometimes the convenience of let's say Dr. Monda's on Monday evening at the John Gray, it's right there. It's the church, the community hall. It's accessible. Someone may make time on a 7 p.m. on Monday evening to come, as opposed to having to go to the physician, doing the work day, balancing the school run, all these other things. But there's a little bit of fellowship, get some wings, maybe have a little chat and feel more comfortable, but yet getting the information that they need that is still as medical accurate and sound and timeless.
And I think obviously the important thing we're trying to stress is early detection. Lion Philip mentioned about the increase in incidence of patients being younger. One of the most important things that persons have to understand, there could be, besides the mammogram, which is recommended at 40, persons with a strong family history, first degree relatives, whether that be a parent, or sibling who might have had breast cancer in the past. There could be genetic testing that could be done, genetic screening. We not sure if the BRCA gene, right, which we all have, but there's a gene mutation which increases your chance of breast cancer, unfortunately. So this and other screening could be done. BRCA gene is not only linked to breast cancer, but there is an association with other cancers, ovarian cancers, pancreatic cancers, prostate for men, and the list goes on, right? And that could be obtained through screening, right? So it's an opportunity for district members to come out. And we know that there could be challenge, and you mentioned a number of things, whether you are a mother with a busy life, or even father, because you can actually impart some wisdom, to your kids, depending on how old you are, or to your wife or your spouse. So no one should be exempt from attending these meetings and learning how we can work as a community to support our physicians and even support each other in ensuring that we want to catch this disease early, because we want to preserve life. At the end of the day, we want our Caymanian community to continue to flourish with all opportunities, besides having been afflicted with disease.
It's not just about a long life, but a quality of life.
The quality of life.
And having just the three of you present, I think, lends support that as as the men in our community, we're not only the protectors and providers that we try to contribute and partner with, our spouses, but we want to be front and center. That very first meeting that you referenced, there weren't many men in the audience.
Yes, that is true. That's true. So
now
we're
we're changing.
encouraging the men to come out, support the ladies, show them that we care, and regardless of what they're going through, we'll be there 100% of the way. Yes, we have to must, because women are the pillar for our community, and they have done so much for us and continue to. And even when they're sick and going through these things, they're pushing all the time. So it only goes to show that we have to do our best as well.
And Mr. President, it speaks to that whole issue of the support. You talked about sometimes how women in particular may be identified by their children, how they may see themselves, but we as their partners, their spouses, we're not just a shoulder to lean on, we're not just lending support. We're there loving and nurturing and caring and as concerned then as we were the very first day we laid eyes on.
Yes, as I said, what I realized too, when you have this deadly disease and a loved one identify it and reach out to it, if it's a parent, they tend to hide it from you because they don't want to stress you out with that issue, which is wrong. And then the psychological part of it, then they are confused. So you have the disease you have to deal with that family member or a friend, and the psychological part, which you have to give encouragement, support, make sure you get treatment, because a lot of them, many times, because it's a terminal illness, or that is what they think, because of lack of education, there's always a hope. You have to drive that, they have this fear that it's the end of the world. And it's not the end of the world. They always have, different treatments you can do for approach of the deadly disease. So it's all about behind them, 100% and a lot of support.
Indeed. So, Doc, from that, sometimes, yes, early detection. We grew up, our mothers primarily, early detection, but they say ounce of prevention is better than pound of cure. But sometimes we ignore these things, as Mr. President said. We don't want to burden the child, we don't want to burden the spouse, we don't want to bother anybody. But getting early detection, getting first-hand information in a timely way could make the difference between the quality of life.
Yeah, it definitely will make a difference. I think one of the most important things as well is to recognize that there are more skilled treatments, treatment that are more innovative. The very fact of you detecting a disease early means you can address it quite simply with the least of psychological impact, not just to the patient but to their family situation. And we do have a number of skilled physicians on island. Depending on how late the disease is diagnosed, the prognosis can be quite dim. But thankfully we have a number of skilled physicians on island in the various disciplines, which may offer medical oncology service, radiation oncology, surgical oncology. So not only are we recognizing that we can treat the disease, but more important than treat, we want to at least address it quite early. And you as a patient have to recognize that in terms of optimizing your health, because you mentioned the I'm trying to recall my mind, but ounce of prevalence. I'm trying to recall what the saying is. But the point I think we all could agree with is that we want to ensure that our health is optimal. Eating right, exercising, limiting our alcohol intake, limiting our smoking. The stress is a significant factor on our health, especially among women, which adds to obesity as a challenge and a risk factor for breast cancer. So the list goes on in recognizing that it's a holistic approach. The patient has to play a role in eating and optimizing their health, recognizing the symptoms early, coming to the physicians early, and the physicians themselves, depending on which stage in the recognition of the disease, are quite capable to address it, hopefully.
And this is with a community initiative from the public meetings to supporting through the fundraising, to recognizing that it isn't 99% may be impacted by women, but even if it was 100%, then that means 100% of us still need to be on board, supporting our mothers and our daughters and the like.
So I want to say that to each and every community in the Cayman Islands, look out for us this month. We've gone to Cayman Brac already. We went to Cayman Brac at the end of September, and we had a walk run there and community meeting, and we distributed some mammogram vouchers. So we're going to be in Georgetown, we're going to be in East End, we're going to be in West Bay, and we're going to be in North Side. We're at San Savannah. Yeah, all of those communities, we're having both a clinic and an awareness meeting. Our calendars and our socials on our Facebook, LCTGPR is what we use for all our socials, be it Instagram or Facebook, and we're also on Twitter. So it's LCTGPR. So not only our breast cancer things, but our breast cancer things are big on there now, but all our different activities you will see there. And as soon as they pop, they're on there, because our PRT, man, they post. So you won't be short of any information. We have our breast cancer awareness number listed on the calendar as well, which we can share with you, or you can reach out to any member of the Lions Club of Tropical Gardens, be it any of us or any of the multitude of women that are members of our club, for any information or activity on activities that are happening in October. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you all, not just for coming and sharing, but for standing in the gap and to recognizing that, together we make a meaningful and positive impact on our communities. Looking forward to the evenings. Mr. President, thanks very much, sir.
Yes, thank you too, sir, for accommodating me. Thank you.
No, it's a pleasure for you guys to come in and represent and to share, and hopefully the message will resonate with us in a very, very significant way. So, all the best for the week.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, we invite you to stay tuned. Join us after. We have a continued partnership with the Health Services Authority. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old girl.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Ready for more fun, more data, and endless connections? Digicel's all-new postpaid plans got you covered. Get more entertainment data for Netflix, Spotify, YouTube, and TikTok. Endless social data for WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Roaming data for the USA, Canada, and the Caribbean. And more international minutes than ever before. Stay connected on the fastest, most reliable network in Cayman. Make the switch today. Digicel. Better connected.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At Valley Med Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Buttontown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin, or the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit Valley Med Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Buttontown. Live happy, live healthy with Valley Med Pharmacy.
Cybercrime happens online or through the technology we use every day.
Anyone can be a victim of cybercrime, whether you are a young person being bullied or harassed online, or an older person or business who's been scammed out of money or personal data. Cybercrime is an issue that touches all of us. The Cayman Islands government has therefore created an online resource to help keep you cyber safe in an ever-changing world.
In online situations, it is better to be cyber safe than sorry. Learn now to protect yourself against cybercrime. Visit gov.ky/cybersafe.
Attention Cayman Brac residents, your voices have been heard. We are thrilled to announce that Cayman National will be installing a new ATM in the Kirkconnell store in Stake Bay on September 1st. At Cayman National, our priority is to make banking easy and convenient.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. And I'm always honored to have this continued partnership with our Health Services Authority. And not only following that wonderful discussion with our good friends from the Lions Club, in particular Lions Club of Tropical Gardens, and inviting you to be a part of their monthly breast cancer awareness meetings and this month. But Mr. Tim, good afternoon to you, sir. How are you?
Doing well, Dwayne. Thanks a lot.
It was a pleasure, man. I look at green sometimes. If it's another mango, I don't really like it, but that looks good on you, man.
Thank you.
You know what? It's all good, right?
It's all good.
All right. Well, I'd ask you prior to coming on here if you would do the honors and start with the CMO and do the introductions and set the stage for discussion, because at some point, I'm going to apply for the office of the governor's job, and I need to find someone to replace me.
Oh, well, thank you for thinking about me like that. Yes, so
Tuesday.
So this afternoon, thank you for inviting us and hosting us here. We come to talk about arboviral diseases, or in this case, dengue.
Mm.
And we have with us today our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Nick Gent, from the Ministry of Health, and the Director of MRCU, Mosquito Research and Control Unit, Dr. Alan Wheeler, and myself, Tim McLaughlin Monroe, the Senior Public Health Surveillance Officer.
I'm going to, Dr. Gent, because I think in your presence, I'll do my very best to not just enjoy, and certainly I would laugh and learn, but to invite the public to appreciate the importance of timely, accurate information. And, when we speak to issues, we look at, as Tim would tell us sometimes, vector-borne diseases, and then, the way he presents it, just a casual conversation, like coming to HSA, walk from one end to the next. He'll give us a quick preview, or we sit here and through gents like you, we get the public to understand that through information and knowledge, we can be empowered. We don't have to be fearful. There are things we can do, but other times, we leave it for somebody else.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I mean, and one of the things that I'm very keen on is people understand what the problems are, and they understand what they can do for themselves and what they can do for their community. We have relatively small government in the Cayman Islands. We have a relatively small reserve, and we're not in a position where that government and the resources we have can do everything for everybody. So getting the information out there, understanding what the problems, what the threats are, understanding what people can do effectively and well, and helping themselves and their communities is absolutely critical to our work.
When we talk about arboviral diseases and fancy word, I mean, what does it mean when we break it down?
Well, it's probably better if we were talking about vector-borne diseases. And so the vectors that Alan can talk about eloquently from all the different sources. It is where an insect, in these cases, is able to transfer an infection either from an animal source to a human, or from, in the case of dengue, from human to human. And the arboviruses are a small group of, well, not so small, they're a group of viruses, a number of which can cause infections in human and transmission from human to human. But we also have other vector-borne diseases which are important, and of course top of that list globally is malaria, and we do see cases of malaria in the UK. But I'm sure Alan will give you an entertaining list of what the important mosquitoes of the Cayman Islands are like, and it's worth listening to, because there's a big difference between those things which are a nuisance to us and those things which are a health threat to us. And the difference in their ecology, is where they live, where they breed, and how they can be controlled, is very, very different. So a quick lecture from Alan would be very good at this point.
Dr. Will, yes,
Okay,
thank you.
My turn. Okay, well, we've got about 30 different species of mosquito.
Just grab it here and put it closer, man.
Yeah, we've got about 30 different species of mosquitoes in the Cayman Islands. Not all of them are vectors. Very few are actually vectors of disease. So the important vector mosquito species we have, Anopheles albuminus would be the primary vector of malaria. Now, I've not seen any case of locally transmitted malaria in the 23 years I've been here. The vector itself, this mosquito, used to be very common here. Now we hardly see it in our traps. Not sure how we control that one, but over the 23 years I've been here, we've done something to reduce the numbers of that mosquito down to levels now where I don't believe malaria could be locally transmitted for any sustained length of time. Now we have other mosquito species. The main vector of important diseases would be Aedes aegypti. This mosquito can transmit things like dengue, Zika, chikungunya. In the past, it was a major vector of yellow fever in the region. Now the reason this mosquito is such an important vector species, it lives in close association with humans. It lives in and around people's habitations. It rears its larvae in any container that's capable of holding water. That can be a man-made container, such as a bucket or a pail or a barrel. It can be a natural container, like a coconut shell. But the reason it's such an important vector is it's so closely associated with humans. It'll breed both inside and outside the house, and that's why it's so important to MRCU. And it's probably the easiest species to deal with. People can do a lot themselves to control this mosquito. Just a survey of your inside and outside your residence once a week, you can eliminate the majority of breeding sites and greatly reduce the chances of getting dengue.
With respect to that, because I think sometimes maybe two parts to the question. Do we wait until quote-unquote the rainy season in order to make an assessment of our properties? Let's start with that first.
Yeah, well, we've found our studies that the containers that this mosquito is found in are very different in the rainy season and the dry season. Like in the dry season, we're finding things like water barrels are the main breeding sites because it's one of the few sources of water at that point. Whereas in the rainy season, containers that aren't designed to hold water become the major breeding site. So tarpaulins over a boat become a major breeding site for mosquitoes. It's amazing. Discarded toilets, it's amazing how many there are in people's yards.
And tires.
Yeah, they're major breeding sites during the rainy season. Styrofoam cups. Basically, if it can hold water, it can breed this mosquito.
Yeah. Bottle caps.
No, we know many of us.
Gutters that are clogged because we need to maintain those. Those kind of things.
Inside houses, a major one is lucky bamboo.
Yeah.
That's if you look inside any house that's got lucky bamboo, the odds are you'll find Aedes aegypti there.
And I'm glad you referenced that. I was thinking of part of the second question was we use a lot of things as ornamentation to, as we're in landscaping, we want to make it a little bit more aesthetically appealing. So whether we cut something inside, like a bamboo, or whether we have a nice shape sort of ornamentation that we have some plants in, is it then if it's holding soil and there's no settled water, or the water itself has to be standing?
There has to be water there. These mosquitoes swim, the larvae.
Mm-hmm.
They prefer clean water, so they don't want anything that... It's not like a septic tank. They're not really going to breed in a septic tank. There's too much organic matter, so they like rainwater that's not been standing around for too long.
Mm-hmm. And what sort of incubation period? If it's there in 3-4 days, does it take years? I mean...
Okay, the eggs themselves can remain dormant for over a year under ideal conditions. When the eggs hatch, it's generally 8 to 12 days from egg to adult.
Mm-hmm.
The fastest depends on temperature, but the fastest you go from egg to adult would be 8 days.
And this is where I think, as Tim was alluding to earlier, maybe we walk around our properties, we'll see something that may have blew into the yard, maybe something that we didn't even realize was there, that, upside down container that is now holding water, a bottle cap.
Yeah.
Well,
I do that.
Conch.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But routinely, once a week, I inspect my own yard, and even though I'm well aware of what the breeding sites are, I will find breeding sites.
Mm-hmm.
Like last time I did it, it was a wheelbarrow that someone had left out, and larvae were breeding in it. So that's why you need to continually do this.
And you referenced tarpaulin. I mean, sometimes we'll take it to cover up the boat or something we're working on, a little project, not expecting it to do anything other than to protect, the thing they're working on from the elements.
Right, and the same thing, even if you didn't cover your jet ski or your boat,
and
it's not tilted in a certain way, it will collect water as well. So my son loves his jet skis, and sometimes he leave them level, but rain blow in and he has. But the next day I'm on him. I was like, hey, tilt this thing so that water can come out, because I definitely don't want to catch dengue, that kind of thing,
You wonder sometimes to what extent certain heavy equipment, may not realize that the bed of the truck could be there for a couple of weeks before we use it, and the water could settle.
Yep. It is looking at the environment around you in a quite different way. And it can be difficult, because we all suffer from this sort of familiarity. Our eyes pass over things that have always just been there.
Yeah.
And we also have that strange psychology of, that bird bath. Well, that's just decorative, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's still a breeding site. Because you think of it as a different purpose. So you need to be doing this regularly. And this is, come back to what we started off with about. This is about community action to protect your own household and protect your neighbours. We need to be doing this every week, like Alan does in his own yard, and we need to be just stopping before we go and look at it. Not a quick. I'll have a quick look round just to say I've done my chores. It's Saturday. I've done what the CMO wanted, which is to check my backyard. But take 2 minutes to think, what am I looking for? And what I'm looking for is, where has water collected? Not looking necessarily for a wheelbarrow or looking for a container, because we've used that word. Go looking for the standing water and having a completely fresh eyes to what is there. Standing in all different parts and looking round to see, because some things will be hidden behind other things. And it's quite. The children are really good at this, actually.
One of the things too, though, Dr. Jan, is that this mosquito, she's so smart that she will lay her eggs in anticipation of water. So one of the things we always ask people to do too is their pet bowls, to monitor those. Make sure those are clean at least once a week, because case in point, some of us use a 5-gallon bucket for a dog's water bowl, and that's a lot of
it's a big
space.
dog.
Yeah, it is a big dog. and we also have like cats, number of cats and stuff like that. So you put these bowls out, and she definitely will lay eggs in them, because it's a container, and she should know that water will eventually go there.
From the Cayman Islands perspective, we got the 3 islands. Each island, is there an issue on one primarily more so than on the others?
Aedes aegypti, I would say, is far more prevalent on Grand Cayman than it is on Little Cayman or on the Brac. It's present on the Brac. I don't think we've ever found it on Little Cayman yet.
No.
And then with Grand Cayman, is it then that it may be in some districts more than others, or even in some parts of some districts more than others?
It's considered an urban mosquito, so the more urbanized areas of Grand Cayman, we're going to find higher numbers of mosquitoes. So West Bay would be considered a high density area for people, and also for Aedes aegypti, same as Georgetown, Bordentown, East End.
So the higher populated areas, the more densely.
Yeah, because it's
so basically all districts.
Yeah.
But within those districts, there are going to be certain little cities or areas that's going to be more densely populated, and that's where you would have the probability of having more Aedes aegypti. And just because of what Dr. Wheeler was saying, that's a mosquito that lives in and amongst us. They like urban sprawl.
They feed off humans. They don't really exist if they've not got those blood meals to collect. So they've got to live next to us. So the inverse is, you find humans, you'll find that mosquito, and it's but it is one of those pests. And this is the really important thing, because I mean, frequently people will ask a lot of myself, well, you just need to get the plane up a bit more and spray things, but the planes aren't spraying the inside of a house. They're not getting down to that detail of the backyard. Alan can control things which in the big habitats, but in the more localized habitats it's difficult. And in any case, the better control measure is that we clear the breeding sites. That gives very good control.
Yeah, one of the problems of chemical control with an urban species like this is resistance. I mean, Aedes aegypti, every population I've seen from different countries is resistant to pyrethroids, and that's a result of the olden days where DDT used to be sprayed against this mosquito. It's caused something called knockdown resistance, which is still present in most populations of Aedes aegypti.
So even this moved on from, so one generation to the next, they still carry that resistance to it.
They still have it, and truthfully, we don't really need chemicals to control this mosquito. It's the public can do so much for themselves. Not for all mosquito species, like the black salt marsh mosquito. There's not a lot the public can do about that. That's breeding by the millions in swamp areas. But this mosquito, if you're getting bit by it, the odds are it's coming from your own yard or your neighbour's yard, and just keeping your own yard clean. It's the best way of controlling this
one yard at a time. But there's also some people that live next to vacant lots. If they could check those as well, parks and different places. And when we see things thrown about, I mean, it's like basic thing, pick it up and trash it.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's not that. Our culture is changing, where before that used to be the thing,
All right, let's take this quick break. And when we come back, share with us some more, because I think at the end of the day, our health is our wealth, all right? Yeah. All right, join us after the break.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have our very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Upgrade your connection with Digicel's all-new postpaid plans. Experience the freedom of endless local calls, more any use data to browse, entertainment data for Netflix, Spotify, YouTube, and TikTok, and endless social data for WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. That's not all. Stay connected when you travel with roaming data for the USA, Canada, and the Caribbean, and make calls while abroad with more international minutes than ever before. Stay connected on the fastest, most reliable network. Make the switch today. Digicel, better connected.
The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter will be taking appointments from October 2nd through the 7th at his Crew Road Clinic. Appointment slots are limited. Whether you're seeking advanced skincare, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email dr.porterkman@gmail.com or call 946-9020 to book your appointment today. That's 946-9020.
Attention Cayman Brac residents, your voices have been heard. We are thrilled to announce that Cayman National will be installing a new ATM in the Kirkconnell store in Stake Bay on September 1st. At Cayman National, our priority is to make banking easy and convenient.
The Fall 2023 Labor Force Survey is currently being conducted by the Economics and Statistics Office. The Labor Force Survey collects data on employed and unemployed persons. Trained interviewers with ESO ID cards will visit randomly selected households. The interviews are confidential in accordance with the Statistics Act. No individual data will be published or disclosed. Survey data are exempt from Freedom of Information requests. For more details, please call the ESO hotline on 516-3329.
A new Cayman comedy show, What Happening? With Michael McLaughlin, Matt Brown, Leroy Holness, and all your favorite actors. Every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, September 29th until October 15th. Proudly supported by the Cayman National Cultural Foundation. Tickets available at eventpro.ky and the CNCF office. You can't write this stuff.
Sometimes you just have to laugh. Yes, laugh. Laugh it up.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, welcome back, and thanks for joining us, and thanks to the opportunity to perhaps show what we can do to improve not just our health and well-being, but how we impact the lives of those around us. So, our CMO, Dr. Jen, thanks very much for joining us, man. It's a good way to spend the afternoon.
Thank you. Yes, it's
for Thursday, not bad, huh?
If only.
We can make it Thursday, you know. I mean, if they can do daylight savings, I'm not see why we can't advance the days. So everybody agreed Thursday?
Thursday.
All right.
Friday.
You tell my chief officer.
You know what? I'll have my people call your people, and of course our director, the MRCU, Dr. Wheeler, and you know, we've christened him the Right Honourable Tim McLaughlin. Wonderful. Thanks for coming on board. Hey, come on, man! With a beard like that, it gotta be good, man.
Gotta be good.
No, but I'm grateful for this, because I think sometimes we look at where we are in human history. We look at some of the technology that we have, and then we think back to our parents and grandparents, you know, 80, 90 years ago, and the lives that they led, perhaps not just subsistence farming, but more intense. Their access to some of the technologies that we take for granted now, but yet they live more in tune with the environment, and they were more sensitive to their surroundings. Their coconut shell and the conch shell wasn't just there as for decoration. They understood that it could be a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, you make a really good point. There were less intensive load on the environment around themselves. They were more inclined to look after that environment as well. And if we talk about infectious diseases, and you go back 100, 150 years, they were the major killers. And you think that you certainly go back about 150 years in major urban settings, about 1 in 4, 1 in 5 children would die before the age of 5, usually due to an enteric infection. And so that kind of hygiene, looking after the quality of water, looking after the things which are threats to you, was very, very real. And how we become so used to a safe environment with things like safe water, trying to take care of the air quality, all the things that are done around food safety and so on. Those risks have really receded, and you know, you get the children vaccinated and so on. So people people don't have the forefront, that self-defense that's there. And I suspect there's something about that in the problem that we're having with dengue. You know, people think it's a rare problem. They think that, you know, these two gentlemen are going to come and sort all their problems out for them. And so we've lost that independence of action. We've lost that being attuned to risk. And because we're much greater impact on the environment, there are so many more houses put together. These risks, which are now and current, are a product of that urbanization. You know, we're going to have the ability for a mosquito like the Aedes aegypti to breed and become a risk 100 years ago was extremely remote. Now we've created these huge numbers of people living in close proximity, and they're just, these people, we are food banks for them. We are enabling them to succeed. The way that we have structured our lives, the way that we litter the environment is giving rise to this increasing threat. And that's why we've got to be a lot more careful, and we've got to see what the risks are in our world today. And the littering and the allowing the mosquito habitats to form, there are problems, and there are community problems, and we need to deal with them. First of all, in our own family, in our own yards, and secondly, it's communities looking after the grounds around ourselves.
Well, we've got the news, I think, Ms. Susan. And when we come back from our news break, then we can continue our discussion. And if you have any questions, I think there might be one phone line working. There's certainly some strings and two cans. Let's see if that happens. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Zollins. The Insurance Managers Association of Cayman is announcing the full agenda for the Cayman Captive Forum 2023, and registration remains open to take advantage of the expertise and networking opportunities at the world's largest captive insurance event. The Cayman Captive Forum will be held at the Grand Cayman Ritz-Carlton, November 28th till the 30th. More information can be found on caymanintinsurance.ky. In international news, an 11-year-old boy has been arrested after shooting a pair of 13-year-olds after a row at an American football practice in Central Florida. After a physical fight, the attacker retrieved a gun from his mother's car and fired a single shot, police said. Both victims were stable after being hit by the same bullet. One was struck in the arm and the other in the torso, requiring surgery. The boy faces a charge of attempted second-degree murder. Some adults would probably also be charged, as the firearm was not properly stored in a locked box. A missing girl has been found safe after police used fingerprints left on a ransom note to track her down. 9-year-old Charlotte Senna disappeared on Saturday while riding her bicycle in New York State, triggering a huge 48-hour search by hundreds of people. A ransom note was later delivered to the family home, which officials said contained the suspect's fingerprints. Police were able to identify him as the print was on their database linked to a drink-driving incident from 1999. He was located at a property owned by his mother and arrested. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Zollins.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
Are you an experienced hospitality professional? Are someone looking to make a change to a career in hospitality? Join us at the DART Hospitality Job Fair on Wednesday, 11th of October at the Kimpton Seafire Resort and Spa. Explore exciting career opportunities available at the following hotels: the Ritz-Carlton Grand Cayman, Kimpton Seafire Resort and Spa, and the brand new Hotel Indigo Grand Cayman, scheduled to open April 2024. Register to attend at dart.ky/hospitality. This opportunity is open exclusively to Caymanians, PR, and RERC holders.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, welcome back, and thanks again for this opportunity to continue our partnership as we speak with our CMO, the director MRCU, and of course, Tim McLaughlin Monroe. Gents, we do have a caller online. Hey, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Hey, how are you today, my friend?
Okay, Dwayne, and you?
Oh, man, I'll be honest with you. I am eternally gracious, grateful, thankful. I mean, I didn't have to squint to see I'm handsome. It's all good, man. How are you, man? How are you?
Okay, man, and good afternoon to your guest, too.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, speaking about mosquitoes, I remember there was a church on West Point Road named Pilgrim Holiness Church. And in the roof of that church, there were a lot of rat bats. We used to get old coconut limbs, dry limbs, and kill them when they fly out. And they were in there, must be by the thousands, man, in the roof of that church.
Natural control.
Mm-hmm.
And they knocked the church down to build a new church. And all the rat bats left. And after all those rat bats left the neighborhood, the mosquitoes returned in that neighborhood by the millions. And a few years after that, I read a report concerning rat bats. And in that report it said one rat bat is able to eat 10,000 mosquitoes in one eating when he comes out in the evening. And if the Rotary and Lions Club and other sponsors and the government are able to erect rat bat houses in people's yards, those who might want one, the only problem I see with that now is rat bats like fruits. But other than that, it's a lot healthier than going around spraying the place down. And I'm wondering, being our island has such a high cancerous rate, if that spray has anything to do with it, because back in the day, Dwayne, when that fog truck came across, there was a lot coming out of that. And also, if people are able to even burn a little smokestack in their yards in the evening time, that can also help. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks very much.
Yeah,
he said burning. I was making sure we smokestack.
Smoke pot.
Okay, let's check.
I mean, it's effective. I wouldn't be recommending breathing in smoke outdoors. Biological control is something that we are very much like to do more of. Bats do eat mosquitoes. Dragonflies do. One of the best biological control agents we've got on the island is the fish, the mosquito fish, Gambusia, which in the past they've actually been seeded across the whole island. They were dropped out of planes back in the 70s, out of helicopters. And now when we look for them, they are pretty well endemic across the whole island. Now they're very effective at controlling mosquito larvae. Not so much the Aedes aegypti larvae, because that's a domestic mosquito, but the mosquitoes in the swamp. If there's a lot of fish there, you don't find mosquito larvae. Chemical control, I think we do rely on chemical control. We do only use what would be considered the safest products out there. Anything we use has got an Environmental Protection Agency label. We're moving away from adulticiding to controlling the larval stages, which again is less contact for the public with our larvicides. But definitely biological control is something that I would encourage and hope we can do more of in the future.
Now, with respect to the control, I was just looking at a couple of messages and was asking, I mean, we talked about what we can do within our own inside our houses, around our yards, and as Tim shared, even just, going over to the vacant lot and having a look. Certainly, as Dr. Chen shared, don't litter. But from the perspective of government, larvicide, spraying, maybe getting a samurai sword and going out and, how do we control it? And is it the treatment and the impact for the dengue mosquito different from the nuisance one?
It's very different. I mean, the public, I don't think the public can do much to control the swamp breeding mosquito, the Aedes taeniorhynchus. It breeds in the swamp. Anytime there's either flooding due to tides or to heavy rainfall, the mosquito comes off in the billions. So really, that's essentially why MRC was created, to deal with that problem. Now, the domestic mosquito, it's in and around your houses. You can do so much to control that yourself. You don't need MRCU to be effectively controlling that mosquito. Now, we do get involved with Aedes aegypti when there's cases of dengue on the island, and we do run a continuous control program against this mosquito, but we need help from the public. I mean, we have 18 what we call disease prevention officers, and I believe the population of Cayman is now somewhere around 65,000.
Over 80,000.
Oh, you mean 105,000?
80,000. Yeah.
If the job's impossible, 18 and 80,000, you can't rely on MRCU to control your problems there.
Especially those that we can take ownership of.
Yeah.
To the general perception, whether it's the nuisance mosquito or dengue or otherwise, the activity you referenced earlier, malaria, we haven't seen or been impacted by that in decades. Here,
we do have imported cases.
Right.
Even this year, right now, we have 2 imported cases. We've always had imported cases of dengue and malaria.
Yeah. So how do we then? Yeah, Tim.
But right now, we're seeing a continuous local spread of dengue. So
why is that?
And partly it's because of what we were saying. People, they're breeding sites, and we need to get rid of those breeding sites.
But we brought it in, right?
Yeah, it's a wider problem across the Caribbean, Central America, South America, and into the southern states of the US. In that, what we have in the Cayman Islands is we've got the ability for dengue to transmit because the mosquito is there, but the sources of those infections are from outside of the Cayman Islands.
Right.
And so people are travelling to countries where dengue is endemic, they get infected, they may not experience any symptoms, they come back, and then there's transmission within the household or within the very immediate neighbourhood. That's what's happening. And very often somebody might return from a country having acquired dengue, and that's the end of it. It doesn't transmit further on. But there are probably so many infections acquired overseas and brought back, many of them silent infections, that we're now having enough cases of people with infection to sustain very limited transmission, but it is there at the present time. I know Miss Rachel, who you know, and myself, we've just been looking at the risks of importation from around different parts of the Caribbean, and clearly, I think our biggest concern at the present time is with Jamaica. Jamaica has got quite an extensive outbreak, and it's endemic. It never goes away in Jamaica, but they've gone above their threshold. But we've obviously got a big Jamaican diaspora, and we have a lot of travel to and from Jamaica, and that's probably one of our most significant importation areas. The situation in Cuba, we suspect, but we don't know because the Cubans are not producing many statistics that could help us. We do know, though, of reporting rates from places like Honduras are very, very high at the present time. So this dengue is a disease which is probably peaking throughout the Caribbean and Central America in a way that we have not seen for many years. I think we've probably seen as many reports through something like PAHO already this year than the peaks we've seen in other years. So it's that importation that's driving it, but it is our environment that is then sustaining transmission. And so that comes back to two other points we really need to make very clear to people, is that if you do develop a fever, and don't think about whether or not you've been bitten or not, because the Aedes aegypti bites you don't know about. The salt marsh ones you do, but they're not the ones that are transmitting. So you probably won't know you've been bitten. But if you get a fever with muscle aches and joint aches, we want to know about it, and we want to arrange testing for you and possibly for your household, so that we can identify disease quickly and we can take more aggressive local action. But also, like Ellen and Tim said, we're not going to get rid of these mosquitoes. So the possibility of being bitten is always going to be there. Remember, this is a mosquito that likes to feed on humans at dawn and at dusk. So avoiding being outdoors at that time. But remember, you can still be breeding it indoors. So best to keep, the good hygiene is important. But if you are going to be outdoors at those time, long sleeves, long trousers, and using a good insect repellent, DEET-based insect repellents, really, really important. I drive in to work early morning. I'm, coming down West Bay Road at, when the sun's coming up, and I see all the beautiful things, jogging up and down West Bay Road wearing fully exposed arms and legs and so on. I was sitting there in my car thinking, I hope you sprayed a bit of DEET on. And maybe people need to just think about that and think that Cayman has a rhythm in its threats to us. And just remember, people 100 years ago, they wouldn't have been outside at those times, would they? They'd have known the threat there.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's take a final break, and when we come back, maybe we can get people to appreciate, how we can do it, and see what else we can figure out. Join us right after the break.
It's game time, Subway fans. We're upping our sub game with the all-new Subway Series menu, an all-star lineup of 6 delicious recipes. Just order by name or number and we'll do the rest. Whether you're catching a quick lunch or just need a tasty victory, the Subway Series menu is coming in clutch. Subway Series, easy to order, hard to resist. Try it today, only at Subway. Eat fresh.
As a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
The Cayman Islands Maritime Heritage Foundation, in cooperation with the Cayman Islands Catboat Club's new 312-page book on the history of turtle schooners and cat boats, is available at the Thompson Building in Georgetown, and also from members of the Catboat Club. You can call 926-4676 or 916-7755. This book is a must-read for all Caymanians and residents. Buy your copy today and learn about this fascinating era in Cayman's history.
Attention Cayman Brac residents. Your voices have been heard. We are thrilled to announce that Cayman National will be installing a new ATM in the Kirkconnell store in Stake Bay on September 1st. At Cayman National, our priority is to make banking easy and convenient.
An amazing selection of dining sets awaits you at Tomlinson Furniture, just in time for all those friends and family gatherings. From Thanksgiving to Christmas, be prepared to present your wonderful spread. Let laughter fill the air as you create cherished memories together. From counter heights, 6-seater to space-saving folding tables, including a bar, counter stools for extra seating around the table. Finding moments of serenity and comfort is a treasure beyond measure. All at Tomlinson Furniture at the corner of Hospital and Walkers Road. Great looks, best prices, always.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, welcome back, and thanks for the opportunity to have our CMO, Dr. Gent, together with the Director of MRCU, Dr. Wheeler, and Mr. Tim McLaughlin-Monroe. You know, vector-borne illnesses, the idea of dengue in this area. Perhaps, maybe we shouldn't be so dismissive, but not paralyzed by fear. Recognizing we can do something, but we shouldn't, just turn a blind eye. Dr. Gent?
Yeah, I say we can't control the wider region. So we know, we're not going to put a wall up. We're not going to close the airport. We're not going to ban the cruise ships.
We're not.
No, please.
I just
We're getting phone calls at 3 o'clock in the morning. We're going to stop that. No, we're not going to do that. We've got to be open for business, and we've got people who've got families, relatives all around the Caribbean and the Americas, and we've got to have a normal life. So we've got to. This is one of those risk things we accept. We understand that we try to keep disease out of the Cayman Islands. We understand that we will get incursions of disease, and we have to try to do our best to minimise the effects of those when they happen. And dengue is a perfect example of that. And we got to recognise all of those things that we can do to modify that risk, and that's essentially what I've been talking about today. But people understanding that we will every year get cases of dengue brought back from people visiting other parts of the Caribbean and Central America and the like. We hope that in most cases that will be the end of it. That one person, will be the end point for that infection. But the numbers of cases we're seeing around, we know we're going to get sufficient cases coming in that we will get a degree of local transmission, and reacting to that, and hopefully reacting in anticipation. So the kind of things we're talking about today, about doing that yard cleaning every, once a week. Once a week's about right for the life cycle.
Yeah.
Leave it every 2 weeks. You're going to be missing a hatch out there. But once a week, religiously checking. I shouldn't say that with the with the elder in the room here. But he'll be telling me off. But doing so as part of our everyday, not just cleaning the house, cleaning the yard, and that becoming a routine for the family, for the community, and remembering we've got to do that year in and year out, not just when we hear that dengue's arrived and we've got some transmission. We're doing that to keep things out, not just to react to problems.
I think, as Dr. Wheeler referenced too, in our homes, inside, that was, wonderful plants that we have, where there's a laka bamboo. Are we checking them as well, not just our yards?
Yeah, you want to check those, and your cut flower vase.
If you've got young kids as well, it becomes really good fun. Like I've got a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old, and they actually look forward to the traipsing around the garden trying to find anything that can hold water. So,
and there's no danger from the the little wrigglers they find and so on, and it could be fun, them spotting them and learning a bit about the biology and about the control. Never too young to start to know, understand, and become part of, that good hygiene and protection.
We might be developing our next CMO or our next director of MRCU. Just that interest in science.
Absolutely. I mean, we're all public health professionals sat around the table here. And that includes you as well, because communication and the science and the awareness is a key arm of public health. But it's one of the most fascinating things. I mean, I accidentally dropped into public health, and I think Tim certainly did. I'm talking to him, and it's absolutely fascinating. And it's the one way you apply all that general science.
And MRCU is great for school kids as well. Any schools out there that want to bring their kids around for a visit, anyone who comes around loves it. They enjoy going around the lab and seeing the work being done. So I'd encourage schools to call up MRCU and arrange a visit anytime.
You take them across by the hangar too, so they can see the plane.
I was going to say you can take them on the wing, but we'll do that. So, the more we as a country perhaps expect or insist that the government invest, the more we see the response. I think of the testing, but it comes down to us, Tim, as well. Being responsible citizens. Taking the walks in our yard, around our homes, inside as well.
Yeah, and also if we are experiencing any of the symptoms that Dr. Gent mentioned earlier, especially the headaches and the fever, the body aches, muscle pains, joint pains, get it checked out, because it might not just be a flu or just because you were lifting some weights a couple of days ago or something like that. Get it checked out.
Have a plate of food as well.
Yeah, because you could, dengue is one of those diseases that you can have it mildly, and I think he alluded to that as well. We travel. Cayman is a place, on the whole, we tend to travel. When we return, we tend to share everything that we collected. And September is when we officially start our flu season, because we've gone and same thing. You could come back with a mild case of dengue, not thinking of anything about it, and mosquitoes bite you, and then the next thing you know, 2 or 3 of your neighbors are down with dengue, and then you start saying, "Hey, I don't want to catch that," but actually you probably were the one that brought it.
You have it. The mosquito bites you, you transmit it.
Yeah.
They transmit it.
The virus gets into the mosquito from an infected person. It's a strange one in that some vector-borne diseases are just straightforward into the mouth parts, out of the mouth parts, but dengue actually breeds in the midgut, doesn't it?
It multiplies it.
Which is it's the dengue virus is adapted both to the mosquito biology and the human biology. And it's a fascinating disease if you're into that kind of thing. But we're very fortunate now in that you're talking about investment, probably more and more investment in terms of mosquito control is not going to help at this point. It's the investment people put in, as we've said, but probably one of the best investments that Cayman government has made is the molecular biology laboratory. And we have now the ability to test on island for such an important range of diseases, and Jonathan Smelly and his team have done absolute wonders building that lab, getting new tests in, characterizing those tests, getting them validated, being able to turn around testing within 8 to 12 hours instead of 8 to 12 days. And that really makes a huge difference.
It's a game changer.
Across a whole spectrum of respiratory infections, enteric infections. It's also working with us on a range of animal infections that are important to human risk as well, so that we can tackle a wide range. And that has quietly been one of the most important things that we've acquired in Cayman in the last few years.
Right. So basically what Dr. Gent's hinting on is when we get a suspected case, when the doctor tells us that we have a suspected case of dengue, right away we notify MRCU with the address. We do an investigation. We ask the patient, if we can get the patient, where they live to verify, confirm their home address and work address. So they're, like he mentioned, they're all year round doing lava siding or something. So this gives them an opportunity to enhance the eradication of adult mosquitoes in and around that residence. They will come into the whole neighborhood. So it won't be like, oh, well, there's somebody at Dwayne's house with dengue, because they're doing all the houses in an area around the patient's house. And they get to kill adult mosquitoes. And by the time, years ago, we would send that sample off to Carfa or Carrick. It was Carrick and now Carfa in Trinidad. We would have a turnaround time of about 2 weeks. And by that time, MRCU, when it comes back negative, would have, we say, well, they kill some mosquitoes. But if it's positive, we would already done the control methods that we needed to do. So we always look at it in a positive way.
The test was interesting, but it didn't inform what we did.
Exactly.
Now the test informs what we did.
So now we have the capability with the Cayman Islands Molecular and Biological Lab to have that within 24 hours, 24 to 48 hours. I mean, the test is run, but sometimes, you can get a delay of a few hours. Yes, it can be done in 8 hours, but still within that day, 24 hours to 48 hours, we now get to know whether it's indeed a case or not. So that would stop them from using resources that could be allocated elsewhere when needed.
And we can also do panel tests. So because you've got to remember, these symptoms could be shared by a number of infections, and so we routinely we won't just test for dengue. We'll test for chikungunya, we'll test for Zika,
and malaria.
We'll test for malaria if people have been to a malaria zone, and we might test for other respiratory pathogens, and we can run all of those tests simultaneously. Again, that's not something that we had a year ago.
Something you said there, Tim, about the increased workload for MRCU. I mean, when we get dengue, the MRCU field workers always respond well. I mean, they'll start work at 4 o'clock in the morning to do increased larviciding operations. They'll be doing fogging up until 9 o'clock in the evening. They're going into areas where dengue transmission is known. I mean, they really, they've always impressed me. Whenever any introduction of dengue, I've always been very proud of the frontline workers at MRCU.
Jens, thanks very much. And hopefully, as you reference, individually we can do much inside our homes as well as outside on a regular basis, at least once a week. As we consciously walk around the yard, make an exercise with our children, from the bottle caps to the upturned buckets. There's so much that we perhaps don't see until it's too late.
Absolutely essential. People have really got to come together, households, communities, and because this is work at that level that only you can do.
Well, thanks for taking time and sharing with us your presence here. Conveys the importance of it and this health and well-being. Something that we can do individually to make a collective impact. All right. Enjoy the rest of the week, gents.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dwayne.
And thanks to Mrs. Susan for lending me her purple, bringing a little color into my life. All right. Tomorrow, pink, perhaps? Orange? Huh. Yeah, I mean, who knows, wear your pink brightly. Until tomorrow, please join me, Stuart, for the record, and come back for Talk Today after the midday news. Until then.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And now, Barbados. And Digicel, Cayman's bigger, better network.